Hello guys, this is David and welcome to Pocket-lint, and today I'm going to review 3 different laptops for you at 3 various price points. But the purpose of me doing this video in particular is to try and make a buyer's guide for university students who are considering buying a laptop which will be suitable for the course that they're studying. NVIDIA recently commissioned some research as part of their back to school campaign. They asked people who had been students within the last 5 years their thoughts on their particular laptop choice and whether or not they thought it was the right one for their course. Student laptop requirements are higher than ever, with many regretting their purchase as graphic design, programming, video editing and AI student work is increasingly demanding. Close to half of the people polled admitted to not doing enough research before buying their laptop, while over a third ended up regretting their choice of hardware altogether. And I can kind of relate to this, as I regretted buying the laptop I did that I used through my product design course. I wanted something powerful because I was building fairly complex CAD models, and I ended up with a big and very power hungry laptop that only lasted about 20 minutes when it was unplugged. But anyway, let's talk about the 3 devices that I have here today. The first one, or let's call it first 2, are the Asus Vivobook and the Vivobook Pro. The Vivobook is a fairly modestly priced and modestly spec'd laptop when compared to the others that I have here. But this is the whole purpose of the video. It is precisely because this doesn't have some of the tech that the other 2 have, such as the 144Hz display or the extra hardware like the RTX 3060. This device comes with an 11th gen Intel i5 processor, 256 gigs of SSD storage, and has a nice 1080p display with a 60Hz refresh rate. However, for some students, this just won't be enough power. So there is the Vivobook Pro, a very similar machine but designed for creators. It has a graphics card on board and a better, more color accurate screen and a really cool looking touchpad. This, however, is only available on the 14 and the 16-inch versions of the Vivobook Pro. The Vivobook Pro is aimed at creators with its Nano Edge Full HD OLED display and an RTX 3050 with a dual fan cooling system. The processor is an 11th gen Intel i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and up to 1 terabyte of onboard storage. The Vivobook Pro costs a little bit more, well, quite a lot more at £999, but if you need the extra power, it is definitely worth the extra investment. But if you're not willing to spend that much money, but you know you need to have the extra performance from the graphics card, there is another way. This is the Acer Nitro 5 with an RTX 3050 on board, and it only costs £699, which is considerably cheaper than the Vivobook Pro. So this is what you would class as a budget gaming laptop. So technically you will have similar performance to the more expensive Vivobook Pro while having a device that's more geared towards gaming rather than geared towards creating. For example, the Acer Nitro 5 comes with a 1080p 144Hz display, allowing you to push your game frame rates to give you smooth and responsive gaming. A great screen, but not that useful, say, to a graphics design student, as the more color accurate display in the Vivobook Pro would be. I think that the Acer Nitro 5 is already really competitively priced for the power that you're going to get there, but bundled in you get a free Nitro gaming headset and a free Nitro gaming mouse, not to mention some stickers and a mouse mat to go with it. The laptop runs on an 11th gen Intel Core i5 processor with 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. As mentioned before, it also has the NVIDIA RTX 3050 with 4 GB of memory. This model comes with 500 gigs of M.2 SSD storage, but there are 2 card slots on the motherboard, so you can add another memory module if you need to. I do like the design of this laptop, although it is entirely made of plastic, which is something you should kind of expect considering the price. But if you know that you do want a gaming laptop to kind of double as a workstation for your studies, but you feel like you want something a little bit more premium, then how about the MSI Katana GF66 with an RTX 3060? Priced at around £899, this one is competitively priced and it has a little bit more grunt from the CPU and an extra 2 gigs on that RTX 3060 graphics card. Now, you might think, great, I want as much power as possible, this seems like a no-brainer. It's even cheaper than the Vivobook Pro. But you must remember that a gaming laptop is optimized for gaming. This goes right down to the drivers that are installed in the graphics cards as well. The Vivobook Pro will have a studio graphics driver installed onto their hardware. This will optimize the hardware to work much better with creative apps such as Adobe Suite, Blender and so on. While the MSI and the Acer Nitro 5 will have gaming drivers pre-installed onto their hardware. Admittedly, this isn't too much of a problem to solve, as you can just install studio drivers onto a gaming laptop if you want to, and vice versa. But there are other differences that you might want to consider. We've already talked about the differences in the display, but there are physical differences as well. An obvious one is how they've highlighted the gaming keys, the keys that are more typically used for moving around in a game. The keys on a creator laptop will be orientated and highlighted in a way to make it more productive, Case in point, the really cool touchpad that we see on the Vivobook Pro. You would also typically have more useful ports on a creator style laptop. For example, I would expect to see a full-size SD card on something like the Vivobook Pro, but would be surprised to see it in a gaming laptop. Battery life is also something to consider and is usually much better on a creator style laptop. I guess one of the biggest differences between a creator style laptop and a gaming laptop is the way it looks.